Have you ever noticed how some people seem to grow smaller as they age, not in height, but in spirit? They withdraw from the world, push away the people who love them, and slowly disappear into habits they never even realized they had developed. And the heartbreaking part is, nobody tells them. Not their children, not their doctors, not their closest friends, because these habits are uncomfortable to talk about. But silence is what lets them grow. Today, we are going to talk about them, honestly, compassionately, and completely. These are the 12 ugly habits that quietly steal your joy, your health, your relationships, and your sense of self as you age. Habits that are far more common than anyone admits. And if you stay with me until the end, I promise you, you will walk away with not just awareness, but real, practical tools to change your story starting today. My name is Sarah, and I am 71 years old, and everything I am about to share with you, I have lived. I have been on both sides of these habits, and I know from the deepest part of my heart how much damage they can do, and how much beauty is waiting on the other side when you decide to change. So please stay with me, because habit number 7 is the one that almost cost me my most important relationship, and I will not let it do the same to you. The first habit is one that sneaks up slowly, so gradually that you barely notice it happening. It is the habit of becoming negative and critical, not occasionally, not in moments of real pain, but as a way of seeing the entire world. It starts innocently enough. A sigh about the weather, a frustrated comment about politics, a sharp remark about how things used to be better. Small things, harmless things, or so it seems. But negativity is not a small thing. It is a current that runs beneath everything you say and everything you feel. And over time, it becomes your default frequency. The station your mind tunes into automatically before you even realize you have turned it on. I remember the morning I caught myself before my first cup of coffee was finished, already listing in my head everything that was wrong with the world. The aches in my knees, the news, my neighbor's dog, the fact that my grandchildren preferred texting to calling. I was not even 30 minutes into my day, and I had already decided it was going to be difficult. And here is what nobody tells you about chronic negativity. It does not just affect your mood, it rewires your brain. Neuroscientists have confirmed that when we repeatedly focus on what is wrong, we literally strengthen the neural pathways associated with threat detection, stress response, and emotional pain. We become, over time, physically predisposed to seeing the negative before we ever see the good. It is not weakness. It is biology. But biology is not destiny, and that is the hope. More immediately, negativity transforms how the people around you experience your presence. It is invisible to you, but it is completely visible to them. Your children begin to dread your calls, not because they do not love you, but because they hang up feeling heavier than before they call. Your grandchildren visit less and less, not because they are selfish, but because they are young and energy sensitive, and they have not yet learned how to shield themselves from sorrow that is not theirs to carry. Friendships quietly shrink. Invitations stop coming. And then you wonder why you feel so alone, not realizing that the isolation you are experiencing is, in part, the echo of the energy you have been sending out. The shift begins with a single, deliberate decision each morning. Before your feet hit the floor, name 3 things that are real and true and good. Not forced positivity, not pretending life is perfect. Just honest acknowledgement of what is still beautiful. The warmth of your bed, the fact that you woke up, a memory that makes you smile. 3 things every single day. Over time, you are not just changing your mood, you are changing the structure of your brain. You are building new pathways, new reflexes, a new default. And when you feel the pull to criticize, to complain, to dismiss, pause for just 3 seconds. Ask yourself one question. Is this going to connect me to the person in front of me or push them further away? That 3-second pause is not weakness. It is the most powerful tool a human being has. It is the space between stimulus and response. and everything changes in that space. The second habit is one that many people find deeply personal and deeply sensitive, and that is exactly why we need to talk about it directly. It is the gradual neglect of personal hygiene and physical appearance. And I want to be very clear from the beginning. This has nothing to do with vanity. Nothing whatsoever. This is about self-respect. This is about the silent message you send yourself every single day about whether or not you believe you are still worth showing up for. There was a period in my own life, not long after I retired, when getting dressed felt pointless. I was not going anywhere important. No one was coming to visit. The day stretched ahead of me without structure or occasion, and I told myself that staying in my house clothes was simply comfortable, practical, sensible even. But what I did not realize was that every day I chose not to get dressed, I was sending a message deep into my own subconscious. A message that said, today does not matter. And if today does not matter, neither do I. Research in behavioral psychology confirms what most of us have felt intuitively. The way we dress and present ourselves does not just affect how others perceive us. It affects how we perceive ourselves. It affects our cognitive function, our emotional state, our willingness to engage with life. There is a term for it: enclothed cognition. The clothes we wear and the care we take with our bodies literally influence the way we think and feel and move through the world. The practical solution is not complicated, but it requires commitment. Get dressed every day, even if you are going nowhere. Shower regularly. Keep your hair clean and tidy. Trim your nails. Or something that has a color you love or a fabric that feels good against your skin. These are not frivolous acts. They are acts of self-respect, self-affirmation, self-love. They say to your own nervous system, I am still here. I still matter. This day matters. And when you feel seen, truly seen by the person in the mirror, something remarkable happens. You begin to engage with the world differently. You hold your head a little higher. You make eye contact with strangers. You smile more easily. You initiate conversation rather than waiting for it. Your presence in any room becomes warmer, more magnetic, more alive, because you remembered you are still alive, and alive means showing up. The third habit is one of the most quietly damaging of all, because it disguises itself as wisdom, as experience, as knowing better. It is stubbornness, specifically, the refusal to adapt to change. And in a world that is moving faster than it has ever moved before, this habit can isolate you from the people and experiences that make life worth living, faster than almost anything else. I resisted smartphones for years. My children would try to show me how to send a photograph through my phone, and I would wave them away as if they were bothering me with something trivial. I had lived 70 years without any of this, I would say, and I had done just fine. What I did not understand, what I refused to understand, was that the people I loved were increasingly living their lives inside those tiny glowing screens. Birthdays were being celebrated there. Memories were being stored there. Grandchildren were growing up there. And I, in my stubborn pride, was not present for any of it. The moment I finally relented and let my granddaughter show me how to use a video call, I sat in front of that screen and saw my great-granddaughter, who lives 600 miles away, reach her little arms toward the camera as if she could touch me. And I wept, not from sadness, from the devastating realization of how much I had missed and how simple it would have been to be there all along. Resistance to change is not strength. It is fear in a costume. The brain, as it ages, does become more resistant to new learning. This is biological reality, but it is not inevitability. Neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to form new connections and adapt, continues throughout our entire lives. The key is consistent, gentle challenge. Learn one new thing each week. Let your grandchildren teach you. Ask questions instead of making declarations. Replace the phrase, "I don't need that," with "tell me more." The door to connection is always open. The only question is whether you are willing to walk through it. The fourth habit is hoarding, and it is far more common in older adults than most people acknowledge. because it is wrapped in sentimentality, in memory, in the beautiful and painful weight of a long life fully lived. Every object in your home has a story. Every drawer is full of history. And letting go feels like betrayal, like you are erasing something that once mattered. But here is what accumulation does, physically and emotionally over time. It closes the space around you. It makes your home feel smaller, heavier, harder to navigate. It increases the risk of falls, which for older adults can be genuinely life-altering. It creates constant low-grade stress, that nagging awareness of disorder that never quite leaves your subconscious. And most painfully, it keeps you anchored in the past in a way that makes it nearly impossible to be fully present in the now. Letting go is not forgetting. You can release a physical object and keep every memory it holds, perfectly intact, inside you. The box of letters does not need to exist in your hallway for you to remember the love that wrote them. The clothes you have not worn in 12 years do not need to hang in your closet for you to honor the woman who wore them. You carry your history inside you. Objects are just objects. And when you release them, especially to someone who will actually use them, who will find joy in them, you are not losing something. You are freeing something. Yourself, most of all. Start with one small space, one shelf, one drawer, 15 minutes on a single Tuesday afternoon. Just begin. The momentum of beginning is more powerful than you think. The fifth habit is impatience, and like negativity, it is something that can intensify with age if we are not paying close attention. The world moves at a pace that can feel increasingly misaligned with where we are in our lives. Younger people seem rushed, distracted, careless. Waiting in lines feels longer. Poor service feels more insulting. Small frustrations escalate more quickly into genuine anger. And before long, we have become the sharp-tongued elder we never intended to be. The one who makes cashiers nervous, who snaps at waitstaff, who leaves interactions feeling vaguely ashamed of how we behave. Impatience is almost always about something else. It is displaced anxiety, unresolved grief, a sense of loss of control that finds its outlet in small moments of frustration, because the larger losses are too enormous to confront directly. Understanding this does not make impatience acceptable, but it does make it workable, because once you know where it comes from, you can address the real source, rather than its symptoms. Practice the pause. When frustration rises, breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, release for 4. In those 12 seconds, your nervous system shifts. The cortisol spike begins to subside, and you have the space to choose kindness instead of reaction. Kindness is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength available to a human being, and it becomes more powerful, not less, as we age. The sixth habit is something many older adults fall into without realizing it, and it quietly destroys some of the most important relationships they have. It is the habit of talking too much and listening too little. We have so much to share. Decades of experience, stories, hard-won wisdom. And there is something deeply human and deeply understandable about wanting to be heard, to feel that a long life has produced something worth passing on. But when talking becomes the primary mode of every conversation, and listening becomes secondary or disappears entirely, the people around us begin to feel invisible, and invisible people eventually stop coming back. True listening is one of the rarest and most powerful gifts one human being can offer another. Not waiting for your turn to speak, not preparing your next thought while the other person is still mid-sentence, but genuinely, fully, quieting your own inner noise and giving your complete attention to what someone else is trying to say and what they are not quite saying. That quality of listening changes people. It makes them feel safe, valued, known. And when someone feels that way in your presence, they will return to you again and again, because presence like that is rare in this world. After every 2 or 3 sentences you speak, pause, ask a question. Make it a real question, one that invites them to go deeper, not just answer yes or no. What did that feel like for you? How are you really doing? What do you need right now? Then stop and listen, not to respond, just to understand. The seventh habit, and this is the one I told you would surprise you, the one that almost cost me the relationship I valued most, is the habit of refusing help, pushing people away precisely when connection is most needed, insisting on independence to the point of self-destruction and emotional isolation. I was raised in a generation that believed needing help was weakness, that asking for assistance was an imposition, that to be a burden in any way to any person was the worst thing you could be. And so I carried everything alone, every heavy bag, every overwhelming task, every frightening medical appointment, every sleepless, anxious night. I carried it all alone because I believed that was what strength looked like. But one evening, my daughter sat across from me at my kitchen table with tears in her eyes, and she said, "Mom, I don't know how to love you. Every time I try to help you, you push me away. You make me feel like I'm not needed, like I'm a bother, and I feel like I'm losing you even though you're right here." I did not sleep that night, because I realized that in protecting my pride, I had been rejecting her love. Every offer of help she extended was an act of love, and every time I said no, I don't need it, I was, without meaning to, saying, "Your love is not welcome here." No wonder she felt as though she was losing me. In the ways that truly mattered, she was. Allowing yourself to be helped is not weakness. It is intimacy. It is the willingness to let someone else's love land, to receive it, to be changed by it, to let it matter. The people who love you need to feel needed. They need to feel useful, relevant, important to your daily life. When you deny them that, you do not just deprive yourself of support, you deprive them of purpose and connection. And relationships without those things cannot sustain themselves over time. Practice saying yes. Start small. Yes, I would love help carrying that. Yes, please come with me to that appointment. Yes, can you show me how that works? Each yes is an act of courage. Each yes is a door opening between you and someone who loves you. And the love that walks through that door will change your life in ways that no amount of proud independence ever could. The eighth habit is one that might surprise you because it involves not doing something harmful, but rather refusing to do something joyful. It is excessive frugality, saving so carefully, so relentlessly, that you forget to actually live the life you worked so hard to build. There is wisdom in financial prudence. Absolutely. But there is a version of it that crosses the line into self-denial so profound that it quietly robs you of the very experiences that give life meaning. You have one precious life, and at a certain point, the most important question is no longer how much you can save, but how fully you can live. Experiences, travel, celebration, shared meals, spontaneous adventures, investing in a hobby that lights you up. These are not frivolities. Research from the fields of positive psychology and behavioral economics consistently shows that spending on experiences generates far greater and far more lasting happiness than spending on things. Because things depreciate, experiences compound. Every memory you make becomes a story you tell, a warmth you carry, a source of joy that returns to you again and again over years and decades. You worked for this, you sacrificed for this, you earned the right to enjoy this. Give yourself permission, not recklessly, not carelessly, but genuinely, deliberately, joyfully. Create a small fund separate from your savings that exists only for living, and use it, because the time you are waiting for when you finally let yourself enjoy life is now. It has always been now. The ninth habit is social withdrawal, the gradual, sometimes invisible retreat from community, friendship, and human connection. It happens slowly. You skip one event because you are tired. You decline one invitation because the weather is bad. You let one friendship lapse because calling feels like effort. And then one day you look up and realize that the world has continued without you, and you are not sure how to find your way back in. Social isolation is not just emotionally painful, it is physically dangerous. Research from Harvard's long-running study of adult development, the longest-running study of adult life ever conducted, found that the single greatest predictor of health, happiness, and longevity in later life is not diet, not exercise, not genetics. It is the quality of your relationships. Connection is not a luxury. It is as essential to your survival as food and water and air. Loneliness over time is as damaging to the human body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. You do not need a large social circle. You do not need to be extroverted or socially effortless. You need a few real connections, people who know your name and your story, who would notice if you disappeared, who make you feel seen when you are in the same room. Those connections do not maintain themselves. They require consistent, intentional tending. A phone call, a walk, a cup of tea shared across a kitchen table. Small, regular acts of reaching out. Do not wait for others to come to you. Reach toward them. The reach itself is an act of love. The 10th habit is refusing to talk about health concerns, minimizing symptoms, delaying doctor visits, dismissing warning signs because facing them feels too frightening. I understand this deeply. There is a fear that if you go to the doctor, you will hear something you cannot unhear, something that will change everything. And so you convince yourself that the symptom is nothing, that it will pass, that you have always been fine and you will continue to be fine. But silence about health is not safety, it is delay. And in medicine, delay is often what transforms something manageable into something serious. The earlier a concern is addressed, the more options exist. The more time remains to act, to heal, to prepare. Going to the doctor is not an invitation for bad news. It is an act of self-advocacy. It is you saying, I am worth monitoring. I am worth treating. I am worth fighting for. Make your appointments, keep them. Bring a list of every question and concern, no matter how small or embarrassing you think it is. Take someone you trust with you so that you have another set of ears in the room. And when your doctor speaks, advocate for yourself. Ask for clarification. Ask what the alternatives are. Ask what happens if you wait. You deserve full information about your own body. Do not let anyone, including yourself, talk you out of demanding it. The 11th habit is giving up on learning, closing the curious, reaching part of the mind that once found the world endlessly interesting, and settling instead into the familiar and the already known. The brain is a living organ. Like a muscle, it strengthens with use and weakens with neglect. Cognitive engagement, learning new skills, pursuing new knowledge, embracing new experiences, is one of the most powerful protective factors against cognitive decline that science has identified. But beyond the neuroscience, there is something even more important at stake. Curiosity is what keeps you fully alive. It is what makes you interesting to be around. It is what gives you something to talk about that is not complaint or memory. It is what connects you to younger generations who can feel, immediately, whether an older person still finds the world worth discovering. Pick one thing, just one, that genuinely interests you, that you know very little about, that has always felt slightly out of reach. Take a class. Watch a documentary series. Read a book that challenges you. Start a conversation with someone who knows something you do not. Become a beginner again. There is profound dignity and remarkable joy in the willingness to not know and in the courage to learn. The 12th habit, the final one, and perhaps the most important of all, is living in regret rather than in purpose. Spending your days looking backward at what could have been, what should have been, what you wish had gone differently, rather than looking forward at what can still be created, still be offered, still be loved. Regret is one of the heaviest things a human being carries, and it is, in its worst form, a way of continuously punishing yourself for choices you made in circumstances that no longer exist, with information you did not yet have. You did the best you could, and whatever best looked like for you in those moments, in those years, with those resources and that understanding, it was real. It was enough, not perfect, but enough. Purpose is the antidote to regret, not enormous, world-changing purpose. Small, daily purpose. The purpose of calling your grandchild just to say I was thinking about you. The purpose of growing something in a garden, writing something in a journal, teaching something to someone younger, creating something with your hands, showing up for someone who needs you, or quietly, faithfully being the presence in someone's life that reminds them they are not alone. You are not finished. Whatever age you are, whatever losses you have carried, whatever years you believe you wasted, you are not finished. There is still something here that only you can offer. There is still time to matter. There is still time to love and be loved. And there is still time to choose, one day at a time, one habit at a time, one brave and gentle decision at a time, the kind of person you want to be remembered as. That is the real question at the end of every life. Not what did I accumulate, not what did I avoid, but how did I love? And that question, that beautiful, terrifying, redemptive question, you can begin answering right now, today, in this moment. If this video spoke to something real in you, please share it with someone you love. Subscribe so we can continue this conversation together. And leave a comment below. I read every single one, telling me which of these 12 habits you are committing to release today. Because the journey toward your best self does not begin tomorrow. It begins the moment you decide it does.